Welcome to Jim's Movin' Picture Show. From The Godfather to Jaws, from Raiders of the Lost Ark to Airplane, from Schindler's List to So I Married an Axe Murderer. It's a movie show that's almost as all over the place as its host.
Hey everyone, and welcome to another edition of Jim's Moving Picture Show, and today is a special one. I might notice I'm wearing my Durham Bulls Stranger Things Special Edition jersey. This is based on the Starlight Mall season from Stranger Things Season 3. And I wanted to finally get to discuss the end of Stranger Things, and I figured it's now been a couple of weeks, so there are going to be spoilers. I figured I'd wait long enough to make sure that, if you're watching it, you're not going to get something so totally spoiled. Now, look, Stranger Things, I went into season 5 with it being my favorite show of all time. And I left season 5 with it being my favorite show of all time. And I know that there have been a lot of issues with the finale. And anybody that knows or has ever watched the series finale knows that there always are. There are certainly ones that are great. I thought the original series finale of Scrubs before they brought back season 9 was a fantastic series finale. And then, obviously the example of How I Met Your Mother, that was an awful series finale. I think the series finale for Stranger Things leans more towards Scrubs than it does How I Met Your Mother. Now, I understand that there are a lot of issues with the plot, and part of the struggle that Stranger Things built for itself is it did such a great job of introducing character after character after character that the audience actually fell in love with and really gravitated to. And it sustained, an ensemble cast of at times 9 to 10 principal actors that audience members were really invested in. It's a pretty tough row to hoe to try to give us all a satisfactory conclusion to that storyline. And I think for the most part, they did it. And even if maybe they didn't stick the landing plot wise, I felt like they definitely stuck the landing emotion wise. And at least for me, a guy who's almost 50, that's what I cared about most going into that season, is making sure that I felt like at a minimum, the characters were going to be okay, those that survived. I know that there's been a lot of hang up about Will coming out of the closet and stuff. And first of all, a percentage of those are going to be people that are, well, frankly, homophobic and I don't care about what they think. Now, some of them make a logical point that it was probably belabored a little bit. There were a lot of moments, not just with Will and his coming out of the closet, but with Max and her getting out of the weird upside down limbo that she was in. Those scenes definitely took a lot of time to develop, and there was a lot of talking. What I would say about the power of Will coming out of the closet is people got to remember that you're not watching a show that takes place in 2025 or 2026. You're watching a show that takes place in like 1986, I think is when it wrapped up. It's a much different time. And so the idea that Vecna would use that truth against him was a real fear and a real possibility. So I think that they played it out pretty well. But the most important part is I felt like Will finally got something to do and I think rose to the occasion. And Will's big moment was a jump off the couch. Hell yeah, that was badass kind of moment. So again, I forgive some of the plot that might have felt forced, or I wouldn't even say felt rushed, but just felt like awkwardly trying to fit into boxes because at a minimum, emotionally is where it landed pretty much where I wanted it to land. I'm glad that there wasn't a red wedding moment where everybody got killed. And I'm glad that there were still stakes. And, again, going back to plot, having Eleven's sister in it, it didn't make any sense. She didn't do anything, but I'm going to forgive that. Do I think Eleven survived? I kind of do believe that that she made it out. I like the possible ending that we learned at the end of the campaign. So again, for me, it went in my favorite show. It came out my favorite show. I definitely will revisit, and maybe my opinion will change. But although my opinions tend to get better when I'm farther away from something. But what I wanted to do this episode of Jim's Moving Picture Show is share with you some of my favorite, most defining moments that made Stranger Things a show that I have rewatched a bunch of times and will continue to do so. Will introduce my grandkids to when they get older. And I want to begin with one of the characters I did relate to the most because I'm a kind of a grumpy old dude now, and that was Hopper. And I think the scene where Hopper finally figures out a way to keep 11 and Mike from Becoming 13. That doesn't make any sense. But him driving down the road to Don't Mess Around with Jim, one of my favorite moments in the show.
What's going on?
My next bullet point simply says anything with Erica. I don't know how a 49-year-old white guy's favorite character, or one of his favorite characters, was at any given moment a 9 to 10-year-old little black girl, but Erica stole absolutely every single scene that she was in.
All right, nerds.
I'm there.
Do you see anything? Booby traps?
If I could see them, they'd be pretty shit traps.
Wouldn't they?
Thank you for that.
Murray's one of those scene-stealing characters for me, and a lot of people were kind of weirded out by it, but I thought the entire beat of him trying to get Jonathan and Nancy to finally reveal how they felt about each other was actually pretty amazing and pretty awkward and funny all at one awkward little bit of television.
Okay, I'm confused. What's going on here? Lovers quarrel?
No, I mean, we're just friends.
Friends.
We like Steve,
Yes.
but we don't love Steve.
What?
There's a pull-out sofa in my study if you want it.
But if I were you, I'd just cut the bullshit and share the damn bed.
Fan service is always going to be a big part of Stranger Things, and when Hopper picks up one of the most famous swords in cinema history, I didn't care how it got there, and I didn't care where it came from. I'm just super glad he had it. One of the absolute strengths of this show was its ability to introduce a new character in a season and write that character so well and so three-dimensionally that when that character met its demise, sometimes at the end of that same season, it really shook the fan base. And one of the biggest examples of that was Bob, introduced in the second season, and how he gave his life to save the party from the Demogorgons. You don't want me to sing the song, but
Turn around, look at what you see in her face, the mirror of your dreams.
Make believe I'm everywhere, giving
In the light,
written on the pages is the answer to a never-ending story.
reach the stars, fly a fantasy.
Dustin and Steve is the best bromance on that show. I want so badly for a 90s spinoff where they become private detectives. And when they reunite at the beginning of season 3, it's hilarious and sweet and kind of sets that entire relationship off in a totally different direction. And I'm here for it.
Henderson.
Henderson! He's back! He's back!
I'm back. You got the job.
You got the job! Yay! Oh!
How many children are you friends with?
Nothing got my blood pumping than Will the Wise finding out that he had powers and was able to help his friends. Maybe one of the most iconic beats in the show is when Joyce figures out that she can communicate with Will through the Christmas lights.
Okay, baby, talk to me. Talk to me, where are you? R, good. That's good, come on. I, G, H, T, H, E, R, E. Right here. I don't know what that means.
In many ways, my favorite beats in Stranger Things have always been the quieter moments, the more emotional ones. And Hopper's letter to Eleven at the end of season 3 that we don't get to read until after we think Hopper has died is definitely one of my favorite, most tear-jerking moments.
I miss playing board games every night. Making triple-decker Eggo extravaganzas at sunrise. Watching Westerns together before we doze off. But I know you're getting older. Growing. Changing. And I guess, if I'm being really honest, that's what scares me. I don't want things to change. So I think maybe that's why I came in here. To try to maybe stop that change.
We talked about how Stranger Things had that special ability to really introduce a new character and make the audience really, really care about them, even if they only made it through one season. And some of those characters even had some of the more badass moments in the show. And Eddie's Master of Puppets solo is one of my most favorites and one of the most badass.
This is from you.
And last but not least, my absolute favorite beat in Stranger Things came at the end of season 2, and that is the snowball dance. It's everything that I've ever wanted to accomplish in a film. I fall in love with all of it. The heart, the honesty, all of the throwback vibes to when I was that age at that time period. And to me, it shows you how it was more than just a science fiction monster show.
Want to dance?
What?
Come on, let's go. Here. Closer. A little closer. Okay. Now, feel the music, the rhythm. Start to move to it. Yeah, there.
Good?
That's good, yeah.
Okay.
No. Out of all my brother's friends, you're my favorite. You've always been my favorite.
Really?
Yeah. Girls this age are dumb. But give them a few years, and they'll wise up.
Now we're to continue on Jim's Moving Picture Show, talking to one of my favorite people who's also one of my favorite product of the 80s, and that is screenwriter David Reyes.
Okay, everybody, welcome back to Jim's Movin' Picture Show. The guy doesn't need an introduction, but I'm going to give you one because he's one of the most prolific writers, producers, directed, not just in Austin, but in all of indie film. David Reyes. Although now, David, are you going as David Nicholas Reyes? Are we getting serious now? We're finally taking our career seriously.
No, well, I've always been David N Reyes because once upon a time my mom said use the N, and I was like, whatever, mom. And then like a couple weeks later, I got this thing from the police looking for David Reyes, for some arrest warrant.
Yeah.
And so after that, early 20s, I learned use the N. So I that's why I use DNR everywhere. I guess you ever see that's my initial. I go with ever with DNR. Although Lisa, my wife, just constantly says, "Do not ever use that in the hospital." Just don't ever
at our advancing age, saying DNR at a hospital, would that be good?
Yeah. So yeah, it's Please call me David.
Please are. Okay. So let me get the synopsis of your newest feature film script. Letty and Jack want out. Letty's in a bad relationship. Jack's stuck at a job that cost him his life. Bad luck and bad life choices can mean the end for these two unless they figured out how to turn their lives around. So I want to talk a little bit about this from a couple of areas, because you're not one to write something you don't intend to produce eventually. First things first, where did the story come from? And second thing that I had overheard you talking about when I walked in, I guess I didn't overhear it because you were on a panel, but this was the first time though that you said you wrote something where you didn't necessarily think about the production as you were writing, and you'll figure that part out, I presume, later. So answer both those questions.
Okay, so I'll go with the second one first. So yeah, everything I've always written, this is our sixth feature. I've done it based off things, my life kind of thing, things I knew readily, and I wrote to my resources. So I would, as I'm writing, can I pull this off? And that was always a filter and an edit thing in my head, like, oh, that's cool, but I can't pull that off. So what can I do? And it was always in my writing as to what I could actually create and put on film. But with this one, I wanted to reach out. I wanted to try a little harder. And so I decided to, turn that filter down. And so I just wrote, and I'll figure it out later, like locations. I let that go. And I even have a building exploding.
Right.
And so, so as I was writing it, it's like, okay, I need to figure this out. And I did find the answers to all those things. But yeah, this is the first one where I kind of let that filter go to where I didn't let it restrict what I was writing. And what was the first question again?
Just basically like the idea of the story in the first one.
Thank you. Two parts. I wanted to do a rom-com. I wanted to do a comedy, and I kind of wanted to do a rom-com. And so two different parts. And so the girl's story, this person we know, me and my wife, in a bad relationship, and I kind of threw out, she needs to have an exit strategy to get out of it. So the whole idea of being in a bad relationship and having a long-term exit strategy to get out of it.
Right.
So that was a girl's view. And with a guy, I kind of got the idea from a deleted scene from Austin Powers, the first one, where you follow this one of his henchmen, like his home life, where he has a wife and kids and all that. And the whole concept of what henchmen are like off the job, I wanted to do something with that life. And so that's Jack. And so both of them have made bad choices in life. And so I wanted to give them a chance where they came together and helped or hurt each other to get over that problem of making bad life choices.
Yeah. Very, very interesting. Okay. So then the question becomes, have you started to now really nail down some of those things? Because I presume that by the time ARF rolls around in exactly 1 year from this recording, we'll be screening this film. How about that for pressure?
I live for pressure. We are cast. It is written. It's cast. I'm working out locations right now, and the logistics, all those things, I am working on. And like I said, that whole building exploding, I found this effect, where it's you just lay a thing on a video, and I have a drone, so I figured it out. I'm gonna have gunplay for the first time in a thing. We're gonna have a fight. We have it's written as a printer being smashed over someone's head and breaking apart. So we're figuring that out. I have my my creative team working on an exploding equipment thing. So we're working. So we're figuring it out, man. I made a problem, and now we're figuring it out. We're like the Martian.
We're going to science the shit out of this. I feel like you and I have always kind of had a little bit of a similar tract, and I think you and I kind of take the same approach to a lot of this. But this is the part that's fun, like, right? Like, this is supposed to be fun. It's not supposed to be. Obviously, it's hard. Like, making a movie is never easy, but even that hard is fun. So, how much fun is it to kind of like test yourself a little bit? To say Billy the Kid, you keep testing yourself or you're dead.
Yeah, I mean, you want to. I mean, I don't ever want to get bored with what I'm doing. And so, not that my other films have bored me, but I kind of felt, okay, I'm just relying too much on what's in this house. How can I tell a story with stuff that's in this house for the people that I know?
You're like, I have paws in a mama.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I used the pandemic for part of the story. It's just like, I wanted to like stretch out and just imagine, a new story. And I wanted it to be a comedy. I kind of messed with the whole dramatic comedy thing for a while. And this one is just straight comedy. It's not, buffoonery, but it's people in situations where they have to, react. And the fun part is their reaction and how they deal with it.
How much though, you talked about the effect and, back in the day in the movies we love, I'll use practical effects, but you have the ability now to make it, to blow it up. And I've actually just purchased for our school effects packages. Like the kids are making a monster movie.
Yeah.
We really are living in an age where if you have the time and the tedium to work through the limitations of some of these prepackaged effects, you really can do anything.
Yeah. Just a side note. So is it big film?
Yeah.
That's what I got. That's what I used. That's what I bought.
Well, offline, I'll send you everything we bought as well. You're welcome to have whatever we have.
All I needed was an explosion thing. Yeah. They have some very cool sets because I considered other ones because there's this one part where our bad guy Monty, I didn't know what his office was going to be like, and that effect house, they have all these different, it could have been anywhere, but I totally went I'm going totally practical with him, but with the explosion thing, they have this shot of a building going boom, 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 and it's like I want that.
Yeah.
And so you can do that, and it's gonna work, and I have total confidence, and I'm so excited that stuff like that is out there, and that I'm using effects and I'm not using AI. So I'm good. So
what about, where is your head when you're working on this? Is David N Reyes fully entranced in this project now, or is your head already thinking, hey, I have an idea for something completely different that I already know I'm going to work on next time?
Yes and yes. I'm totally wrapped in this, but these things some of them like to start with a title, and it just brews in the back of your head, and it just lives there. Like, so I already have an idea for the next one because it's just a name that it was on some truck I saw, and that's how Texas AF started. I was at a Round Rock Express game, and there was a girl with a Texas AF hat, and I thought, that's cool. And so I just lived in me. And so I just worked out the story from that one little hat. And so Paul Mama, I just liked the name of how those words sounded together. So I created something off of that. And so, that's how it starts. And right now, so I have a name of a character in my head. And so he's kind of living in the background. But right now I'm fully into Letty and Jack. And because we're about to have our table read this weekend. And that's the exciting part for me, because that's when you get to have the actors bring your story together. I mean, bring it to life, because right now it's only 2-dimensional, and they just add that whole other life to it.
How much of your cast are going to be faces we've seen from other films of yours? Is it a mix of new faces?
It is a mix. I mean, I've got 3 people, I think, who have been in other projects, but the other ones, I mean, I'm taking a leap of faith. I mean, that I just saw something in him. Lisa and I saw something in him and said, that's Jack, that's Letty, that's Mr. Man, and, with the one exception of our one character, Monty, I wrote it with Darren Murphy, who I've worked on several films with. I had him in mind from the get-go. Okay. And so I kind of saw him throughout the whole thing. And the other one, our character, Caroline, her name is Sydney Bueller, and I worked with her. She was in our short Killer Falls. And she auditioned for Paw Mama, and she wasn't right for that, but I wanted to work with her because she has a crazy, great energy. She's really comes alive on camera and everything. And so I've been wanting to work with her. And so I kind of had wrote Caroline with her in mind, because if you see her videos online, that's Caroline.
Last question. Unlike a lot of our colleagues, I mean, myself included, your day job is actually also film adjacent. Like a lot of us are doing other stuff, and this is the break. Is there ever a point where you feel like, oh, I've worked all day shooting this event or covering this team or at this sporting event, that the last thing I want to do is work on something creative? Or do you find that it feeds you?
It feeds because you're doing other people's creative ideas. You know, but the cool thing is you're always working on your technical craft. You know, you're getting more comfortable with your cameras, you can put the lighting, all that becomes second nature, and you're getting paid to do it. You're getting paid to get better all the time. And so you save all that. And so when it comes time for your stuff, you know, you're not thinking about, oh, how do I light this room? Because you do it all the time. And so, yeah, my work life, totally adds to my creative and personal life.
Well, I love everything about that. We cannot wait to see the film. I can't wait to have you back on this show just to talk about other stuff besides just your work. He is David Nicholas Reyes.
Can I do one more plug?
Yeah, go plug away, man.
So we're going to have an Indiegogo campaign for Letty and Jack. So we'll be pushing that. So if you want to be involved and be part of this journey, please follow us on Instagram and Facebook, and we'll have a campaign coming up in February. We're in February now. In March, all the way to April and everything. So yeah, we need your help to get it done. And so hopefully we'll have some participation.
We'll keep promoting on this channel. Let me just also say to those people who, like, you got to understand, like, when people, like, there are some people who have a negative opinion of the Indiegogo, but one, you can persist. No one's compelling you to participate. But the way I look at it is, you cannot on one hand complain about all you see are Marvel movies at the theater and then leave an opportunity on the ground to let actual independent cinema and independent voices come out. So we will be promoting your Indiegogo. It'll be all over the Facebook group for ARF as well. So again, David, thanks so much for jumping on Jim's Moving Picture Show. Can't wait to see the movie.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
So thanks, David, so much for jumping on this episode of Jim's Moving Picture Show. Thank you so much for watching. If you're interested, my novel Slaughter Lambs is available. Check it out. I can get you a signed copy. And if you dig what we're doing here on Jim's Moving Picture Show or any of the other stuff we're doing on Twitchy Dolphin Media, please give us a like and a subscribe and a comment, and we will see you next time.